South Africa is collapsing under the weight of its own silence. Hospitals are overcrowded, doctors are burnt out. And now, desperate citizens are standing at clinic gates, turning people away with one question.
He's here, South African, I'm asking.
Groups like Operation Dudula have begun blocking undocumented immigrants from accessing public healthcare. They say foreigners are abusing the system, using free clinics, draining medicine, and selling it back across the border. They claim the government has failed. And now, they've taken the law into their own hands. But how did it come to this, where citizens are the ones enforcing immigration law inside hospitals? And what happens when a nation can no longer agree on who deserves help and who doesn't? I'm GreyBTC. Welcome to my channel. Like and subscribe, it helps with the algorithm and helps me tell more stories like this. South Africa's healthcare system is collapsing, and now it's the poor who are turning on each other. Outside hospitals and clinics, members of Operation Dudula have begun blocking undocumented migrants from receiving treatment.
When you check the whole of Africa, if you go to school, you must pay for yourself. If you go for a clinic or a hospital, you pay for yourself. Why only South Africa? Out of 53 countries, it has to be a free for all.
At Jeppe Clinic in Johannesburg, a Zambian pregnant woman was denied medical help simply for not having papers. At the same clinic, a Malawian mother named Banda was turned away when she tried to vaccinate her 7-week-old baby. Another woman, Aisha Amadu, was blocked from getting care for her 2-year-old child. In each case, no crime was committed, no violence, just mothers trying to protect their children. The Constitution says everyone has the right to basic healthcare, especially pregnant women and children. But that right is being rewritten at the gates of public clinics. Now nationality decides who gets to live. Operation Dudula says it's enforcing the law, that people are collecting chronic medication from multiple clinics and selling it back in Zimbabwe and Malawi. And they point to a recent case, where a bus to Zimbabwe was found loaded with South African medicine. They say it proves the abuse is real, that the system has collapsed so badly, ordinary people have stopped trusting it altogether. And when that happens, justice becomes selective, and compassion disappears. It's no wonder South Africans feel forced to police their own clinics. The system has repeatedly failed them. Operation Dudula claims they're simply enforcing immigration laws that a weak government refuses to uphold. Their fear, they say, is real. More than 70% of patient files at Randburg Clinic belong to undocumented migrants, including pregnant women and young children who are often refused care. These aren't just statistics, they're symbols of a country at breaking point. South Africans are asking, is our own safety and well-being being sacrificed? Politicians have capitalized on that fear. ANC Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has warned that undocumented immigrants are flooding the system, causing infection control failures in overcrowded clinics, even without hard evidence. But the Constitution is unambiguous. Section 27 guarantees healthcare for everyone in South Africa, no exceptions. Yet citizens, politicians, and vigilante groups now argue migrants must show papers before treatment. They claim immigration laws override constitutional rights. Legal experts disagree. The law is clear. When two laws conflict, the Constitution always wins. The ANC's failure to balance public services, enforce borders, or update the Constitution has left a vacuum. South Africa is at a crossroads. Is it still the constitutional democracy it claims to be, or a place where fear gives anyone the power to deny care at a clinic door? Final thoughts. It's a good thing South Africans are finally standing up, because the government won't. For too long, leaders have ignored the pressure building on the ground. So now, citizens are filling the void. They're demanding answers, demanding fairness, demanding order. But immigration is never black and white. On one side, you have desperate people crossing borders, looking for safety, work, and a better life. On the other, you have South Africans, struggling to find jobs, waiting in hospital lines, and watching their country buckle under the weight of a system that no longer works for them. I've lived in South Africa, and it breaks my heart to see pregnant women turned away from care, not because there's no medicine, but because the country has no plan. This is what failure looks like, not just in clinics, but in leadership. That's why the government needs to wake up. Not tomorrow, not after the next election. Now, we need a system that protects its citizens without dehumanizing others. That secures its borders without losing its soul. South Africa doesn't need more protests. It needs policy, it needs leadership, and above all, it needs balance. You've been watching GreyBTC. Like and subscribe, it helps more than you think. And if you want to understand the bigger picture behind this collapse, watch this next. Why South Africa is falling apart.